Welcome to Murder Mondays, where we analyze some of the most heinous monsters to ever call themselves human, giving comprehensive case overviews in a bite-sized, digestible format. Before we begin, I would like to thank all who entered the raffle for the Encyclopedia of Serial Killers book. I will be doing a live raffle to select the winner this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as a couple fun games and lists we will go over on the live show. If you did not enter your name on Facebook, leave it as a comment here below, and you too will enter the raffle to win the Encyclopedia of Serial Killers book. However, due to the overwhelming response I received to the raffle, I will be giving away 4 copies of the book, one on each of the next 4 Thursdays, so if you don't win this week, fret not. Stay tuned to the channel and you will have many more chances. Also, a friend of mine and fellow YouTuber will be doing her own raffle and giving away the same book, so stay tuned shortly for more details. Welcome to the channel, and I'll see you at 8 p.m. on this Thursday. For now, let's get into Murder Monday. Tonight we take a look at Australia's Ivan Milat in the Backpacker Murders. What were the madmen's reasons for turning an adventurous Aussie activity into a ride of demise? We'll take a look at that now on tonight's Murder Mondays, Ivan Milat. Ivan Milat was born on December 27th of 1944 in Guildford, New South Wales, Australia, to father Stepan Marko Milat, a Croatian immigrant, and mother Margaret Elizabeth Piddleston. The couple married when Elizabeth was only 16 years old and would go on to have 14 children, with Ivan being the 5th. Many of the 10 Milat boys were well known to Guildford police, and Ivan was no exception. His antisocial behavior first led to a stint in residential school at only 13 years old, and progressed to breaking and entering in 1964 when he was 19. After serving 18 months for the offense, Ivan managed only about a month of good behavior upon release, before being arrested again for driving a stolen car, and being sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. It would be another 7 years, however, before Ivan would begin to show signs of the depravity he would later become known for, when in 1971 he was charged with the abduction of 2 18-year-old hitchhikers, as well as the rape of one. As he awaited trial, he and some of his brothers committed a string of robberies before faking his own suicide and running away in secret to New Zealand for a year. He was rearrested in 1974, but dodged a bullet as the Milat family lawyer John Marsden successfully defended him against the robbery and kidnapping charges. A free man due to his lawyer's aforementioned skills, Ivan took a job as a truck driver in 1975 and began dating a 16-year-old girl who was already pregnant by his own cousin. The pair would marry in 1983 but separated in 1987 due to domestic violence. In October of 1989, they would finally divorce, and Ivan would, by his standards at least, behave for the next 3 years. But that would all change by September of 1992, when several backpackers in the area had turned up missing, and as the man who had worked for the Roads and Traffic Authority on and off for 20 years stalked the roads, the once fun and adventurous activity of hitchhiking in Australia was proving to have dire consequences. On September 19th of 1992, 2 runners discovered a corpse in Belanglo State Forest. The next morning, a mere 30 meters from the last, another body was discovered by police. Dental records proved the bodies as those of British backpackers Caroline Clark, 21, and Joanne Walters, 22, who had last been seen in King's Cross on April 18th. Clark had been shot 10 times in the head at the burial site. Aside from Clark and Walters, several other backpackers had begun disappearing, including 19-year-olds James Gibson and Deborah Everest, a young Victorian couple from Frankston. And in October of 1993, police got their answer why when a local man searching for firewood discovered the 2 bodies in a remote area of forest and later brought police to them. Gibson had been stabbed 8 times, a large knife cutting through his upper spine and causing paralysis. More stab wounds to his back and chest would have punctured his heart and lungs. Everest had been savagely beaten. She had a fractured skull in 2 places, a broken jaw, and knife marks on her forehead. She had also been stabbed once in the back. Milat's final 3 victims, all backpackers, were all from Germany. 21-year-old Simone Schmidt, who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Confess near Albury, and German couple Gabor Neubauer, 21, and Anja Habscheid, 20, who had disappeared after leaving a King's Cross hostel the day after Christmas, 1991. On November of 1993, Schmidt's skeleton was found in a clearing along a fire trail in the forest during a police sweep. Also having 8 stab wounds, she had also had her spine severed and heart and lungs punctured. Clothing found at the scene, however, were not hers, but instead matched Habscheid, and 3 days later, Habscheid and Neubauer's remains were found nearby in shallow graves. Habscheid's head was decapitated and was never found. Neubauer had been shot in his head 6 times. In response to the finds, the NSW police began their search for a serial killer, setting up Task Force Air on October 14, 1993, which contained more than 20 detectives and analysts. They released public warnings and upped the reward in relation to the killings to $500,000. After developing a profile of their killer, officials faced an enormous volume of data from numerous sources, but after applying link analysis technology to roads and traffic authority vehicle records, gym memberships, gun licensing, and internal police records, the list of suspects was narrowed first down to 230, and then finally just 32. However, it would not be this technology that would lead them to Ivan Milat, but rather his own mistakes. Years earlier, on January 25th of 1990, the United Kingdom's Paul Onions had been backpacking in Australia and hitchhiked from Liverpool Station towards Mildura, accepting a ride from a man calling himself simply Bill in Casula. South of the town of Mittagong, less than a kilometer from Belanglo State Forest, Bill had pulled over and pointed a revolver at Onions and stated it was a robbery. Onions ran, being chased and shot at until flagging down passing motorist Joanne Berry. 3 years later, on November 13th of 1993, Onions called police again and, along with Berry, contacted the investigation team along with the girlfriend of a man who worked with Ivan Milat, who thought he should be questioned over the case. Investigations into Milat showed he had not worked on the days of any of the murders. On February 26 of 1994, police began surveilling the Milat house when investigators realized the connection between the serial killings and Onion's case. He was flown to Australia and on May 5th of 1994 identified Ivan Milat as the man that had picked him up and attempted to assault him. On May 22, 1994, Milat's home was surrounded by 50 police officers, including heavily armed members of the Tactical Operations Unit, who stormed the home and found guns that matched those used in some of the crimes, as well as foreign currency, clothing, a tent, sleeping bags, camping equipment, and cameras, all belonging to several of his victims. The homes of his mother and 5 of his brothers were also searched, turning up 25 additional weapons, ammunition, and several more items belonging to his victims. On May 31st, Ivan Milat was charged with the 7 backpacker murders. A committal hearing ran from October 24th to December 12th and included 200 witnesses. Milat's lawyers argued that all proof was circumstantial and attempted to shift blame to other members of his own family, particularly his brother Richard. However, on July 27th of 1996, after 18 weeks of testimony, a jury found Ivan guilty of all 7 murders and sentenced him to life without parole. He was also found guilty of attempted murder, false imprisonment, and robbery of Onions, receiving 6 years for each charge on top of his life sentence. Milat was beat up by another inmate at Maitland Gaol prison on his very first day. Almost a year later, on May 16th of 1997, he attempted escape with convicted drug dealer and former Sydney councillor George Savas. The escape attempt failed, and Savas was found hanged in his cell the next day. Milat was transferred to the maximum security section of Goulburn Correctional Centre in Goulburn, New South Wales. On January 29, 2009, Milat cut off his little finger with a plastic knife with the intention of mailing the finger to the High Court of Australia to force an appeal. This was not Ivan's first attempt at self-harm in order to get what he wanted, however, having previously swallowed razor blades, staples, and other metal objects, and even previously going on a hunger strike in an unsuccessful attempt to be given a PlayStation. On October 27, 2019, Ivan Milat passed away at 74 years old from esophagus and stomach cancer at 4:07 a.m. within the hospital wing of Long Bay Correctional Centre. He made one final demand, requesting his funeral be paid by the New South Wales government. request was denied and his funeral was paid using his own prison account. I'm Jason Hebert. This has been Murder Mondays. I've been Milat, and I'll see you next time.